everyone, in today's tactics video I'm going to check out the 4 assassins and look for opportunity for our bottom meta army, the Astra Militarum. I've had a chance to play all of them, either with the 2 I own, being an old metal Callidus assassin, and my recently painted Vindicare, which I got from the Warhammer Plus subscription, or the Eversor and Calexus on Tabletop Simulator. Now, starting with the basics, all 4 of these cost 100 points, are a character model, so contributing to the assassination secondary objective, can be fielded in an army list without breaking any army doctrine requirements, and only one of these can be taken per army list. They all have a 4+ invul save, can be deep strike the standard 9 inches away from enemy models, have a 7-inch move, 2+ weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness 4, leadership 9, and each has access to 2 unique stratagems. Now each of these look fantastic with some cool lore behind them. And I'm going to assume you know a lot about them, but quickly, the Callidus is the gymnast of the group, being able to polymorph into disguise, whilst the Calexus is an abomination, giving all nearby psychos a headache, and critically not having the psychic keyword means you can choose the secondary of Bore the Witch. The Eversor is a testosterone pumped crazed killer, whilst the Vindicare is a precision shot with his Exodus rifle. So obviously they all present differing opportunity, being specialists in certain areas. From a tabletop point of view, this is both good and bad. If you're playing casual games and know your opponent's lists, you could choose according to their list or play to a certain scenario. But in the competitive tournament scene, you clearly can't do so. This can be mitigated, however, with a 2 CP stratagem, Shadow Assignment, allowing you to swap in and out a differing assassin before the battle begins. This could be a fantastic tool if you're taking the Calexus against Thousand Suns, or an Eversor when up against Orcs. Of course, 2 CP tax is gobbling up our already reduced CP, with my list for example starting on 5 command points, so just 3 command points if using Shadow Assignment. This will however be mitigated by the Priority Threat Neutralize stratagem, which rewards 1 CP if an assassin kills a character, or 2 CP if they kill the enemy warlord. So suitably thematic and tactically sound. So understanding the opportunity of these 4 units for Astra Militarum, I will assume you're working within a competitive environment. For now, let's assume you do invest a 2 CP, allowing it to plug and play as appropriate. At 100 points and 2 command points, they are a material investment, costing what an infantry squad and a special weapon team cost as a comparison. As always, we should be asking, what will they do for your objective scoring? Being able to deep strike gives opportunity to grab an outlying objective, albeit easily mitigated given they aren't objective secured. They could also score behind enemy lines if you were going for that in partnership with Scions. Clearly, given they aren't an Astra Militarum unit, means they can't contribute to any Astra Militarum secondary objectives. But they could obviously contribute to any purge the enemy secondaries, or Bore the Witch, or action-based secondaries, although that probably would be a waste of them in totality. So really, I see them as a very serious distraction to your opponent, allowing you to focus on scoring your own objectives. It should be said, however, that their rules are starting to feel a bit dated in 9th edition. I mean, they can all still pack a punch, but against any serious character models, the lack of decent AP will probably bounce off Armor of Contempt, and the majority of weapons doing at best flat 2 damage, means the at best strength 5 attacks they deliver all have to convert to wounds. As we look at the Callidus, she has 5 attacks at strength 4, AP -3 flat 2 damage, but turning off invul saves. That's great, but at AP -3 is an AP -2 of Armor of Contempt, so 4+ for any well armoured characters. The Calexus has no dedicated melee weapons, but only invul saves being made against it. So it's 4 strength 4 attacks, so probably saving on a 4+ invul save. The Eversor has a bog standard power sword for his 6 attacks or 8 attacks if he charged or heroically intervened. The Vindicare is a precision shooter, so punching 5 times at strength 4. But the Exodus weapons are always wounding infantry on a 2+, with AP -3 D3 damage, with damage opportunity to inflict a mortal wound on a 3+, 4+, 5+, and 6+. It too turns off invul saves, and it's got a mental amount of damage potential. But again, Armour of Contempt makes it a 4+ save for a serious character which is far from terrible. Even for non-Armour of Contempt opponents, a Command reroll or a pesky Harlequin luck dice, Craftford's Strand dice, and even Sisters having their own Miracle dice could save the character. Right, so let's now look at each and examine their possible fit into Astra Militarum lists. So the Callidus, I'd say her key benefit is a random confusion rule. Every time your opponent uses a stratagem in the first battle round, on a 4+, it costs an additional command point. This could be brutal if your opponent is starting a low amount of CP, but I'd say now our starting C has been halved. We're probably going to be seeing way less rapid fire stratagem use in the first turn as we did before. This can be extended into the second battle round for 2 command points, but given it goes off on a 4+, and as said there's a lot less stratagem use, I'd probably say she's unfortunately the weaker of the 4 assassins. Sure, she could get off a 4-inch deep strike if you roll a 1 thanks to her polymorphine rule, but 5 strength 4 AP-3 flat 2 damage attacks will probably do way less damage than you'd hoped. Quick math hammer should be killing 1 intercessor space marine per turn on average. Like another Calexus. This is a fantastic unit if up against a Psyker heavy list obviously. Subtracting 2 from Psyker tests within 18 inches, so posing a real chance of turning off a lot of spells. Its shooter is supercharged if a Psyker unit is within 18 inches, and it can both shoot and throw its anti-Psyker grenade in the same turn, which is neat. Also, enemy units can only hit it on a 6+, which could be comical, but ultimately against non-Psyker opponents is pretty mediocre. Obviously, if you are playing a game where you know your opponent's lists, do bring it, but in a tournament scene, you probably want to be using the Shadow of Silent stratagem in case you come up against Tau or Necrons, where it would be completely pointless. Astra Militarum clearly are a very weak Psyker army, so it could definitely help in the right matchups. Right, the Eversor. I'd say of all the assassins, this bloke probably is the most fun to play. As examined earlier, his chopper isn't anything special in the scheme of things, but you're getting a lot of attack rolls. His basics attacks is boosted to 8, as said before, if he charged or heroically intervened, and if an enemy model is destroyed. As a result, he can fight with a single additional attack. So assuming he charged our math hammer example of 5 intercessor space marines, he would kill on average 2 marines per turn, assuming the additional attack gets him to 9 attacks. Where he would be probably better suited is against weaker infantry units like cultists, fire warriors or any Tyranid chaff. His 3d6 charge increases the chance of a successful charge out of deep strike from a 25% chance to a 50% chance, making him a very reliable threat. I'd even mention this at the beginning of a game if your opponent doesn't inquire about the Eversor, for some very basic mind games. Even if the Eversor doesn't get into melee in a game, just the fact your opponent is thinking about it is beneficial. Like any contest, the person in control is usually the victor, with his reliable charge threat of the Eversor giving you an element of control. I think the Eversor is a great option for Astra Militarum, given we've got limited credible melee options, with the Bulgrim's AP-1 maul bouncing off everything, and the Hades Breach and Drill requiring you to invest top dollar into a Forge World model, or try and find a 3D printed version. The Eversor could do great work for us, and given his Stim Overload stratagem, where he can fight again, and Hypermetabolism rule where he gets a 4+ feel no pain, he could definitely stick around and cause absolute mayhem. Next is a very cool looking Vindicare. Diverting quickly to lore, there's a very cool Warhammer Plus episode with a Callidus and Vindicare. It gives a bit of detail how a Vindicare is trained with some pretty barbaric methods to ensure this sharpshooter would happily hold a firing position for days on end. His accuracy is ensured with a faultless aim rule, meaning he always hits on a 2+ if he didn't move, and his Spy Mask ability ignores cover saves. He's also hard to hit, being a permanent -1 and -2 in cover. As explained earlier, he wounds infantry on a 2+, and his shooter could inflict a very satisfying maximum 7 wounds if you roll perfectly the damage roll and the subsequent rolls from the headshot rule. Of course this would be a rare scenario, and as also said before, Armour of Contempt would be protecting a lot of decent characters. And don't forget the wound cap per phase that some now have, also the feel no pains and any bodyguard models still being played. Astra Militarum are pretty weak when it comes to precision shooting, with the closest being the never played Ratlings, or Master Sergeant Larkin with his respectable long lads. I guess the wider question is, does an army that focuses primarily on the shooting phase need another shooting model? Your opponent could simply hide away their characters from the Vindicare and leave it to murder a single enemy infantry model per turn, which now I say it could be decent against the right opponent, especially Custodes or any marine flavoured armies picking on any high cost infantry models. That all being said, I'd say you want to be including the Vindicare only in certain matches, and thus relying on the 2CP shadow assignment stratagem. So where does this put them all? I say the Callidus unfortunately can be ruled out. The reduction in command points means a lot less stratagems are going to be used turn 1, meaning there's less chance for this model to impact the game early on. The Calexus would be an auto-include against Psyker lists, relying upon the Shadow Op stratagem in a competitive setting. The Eversor could be comfortably included in most Astra Militarum builds. The 3d6 charge out of Deep Strike could be a powerful tool to use, and his Bio Meltdown rule means you'd be throwing him into a thick knot of enemy units, just like you would a Hellhound. And as said, the Vindicare would be great against elite army lists, but also relying on the 2CP Shadow Op in a competitive setting. So what do you think of Assassins, and what success have you had with them? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Patron Platoon, sound off. Tank Commander Glenn, Tank Commander Mitchell, Tank Commander Watchdog Van Etten, Colour Sergeant DuPont, Sergeants Brady, Adal, Gilliam, the Colonel Merrill, Veterans Gibson, Hall, Lundeen, Guardsman Flint, Hills, Malik, Nitton, Nguyen, Smith, Tom, Tompkin, Conscript England.